Hello, Aaron Kupitz, personal trainer at Functional Aesthetics EC, for helping average guys perform better in their lives inside and outside the gym. Out here enjoying this extremely sunny day, a little bit windy and chilly, but you can definitely tell there's a shift in the weather. Spring is on the way, even though the temperatures say otherwise. Anyway, today, as the title of the video sounded, I wanted to address something that I see as being quite common, and it either serves as a motivator or a deterrent for people to get out there and start exercising and working out. So, oftentimes, I think time is the number one factor that keeps older guys from going and working out, and indeed probably the most of the population, except for the guys in high school, college, early 20s, single, and that stuff, who can do their 2-3 hour long powerlifting routines and be okay with that. So oftentimes I see guys will, say, I don't have the time to work out, and oftentimes it's because they're envisioning these workouts that they used to do when they were younger and they had all this time. And so in this video, I kind of want to address some of the mindset around that, some of the science about how much do you actually need, and also different contexts that can affect the amount of exercise you need for particular goals. So about 20 years ago, it seemed that the only people who really worked out regularly were health nuts, athletes, professional athletes, or bodybuilders, powerlifters, or your high school and college athletes. And the rest of the population wasn't too popular. Over the years though, and this is kind of a good thing, the importance of exercise, and also people not just realizing the importance, but also starting to do something about it. So exercise has become a more popular thing for people to pursue. And as a result of this, there also comes a little bit of a competition thing, because exercise for the average person isn't something that they find easy to do. It can be challenging. It requires time, discipline, planning, and that effort to go and push yourself to make those gains in whatever your fitness goals might be. And so as a result, it becomes kind of a badge of honor or a status symbol for you to be exercising and working out. And so people will be doing ever increasing amounts of workouts to try to raise their level of status in the eyes of the exercise community. And sometimes it doesn't make sense, because more is not always better. If you're working out for 3 hours, either you're a power lifter or a endurance athlete, training for a marathon, doing a triathlon, or you are spending 45 minutes to an hour, maybe 90 minutes tops, working on that conditioning component of your fitness, and the rest of that 3-hour segment would be spent more on building skill in your particular sport. Because especially when it comes to strength training, 45 minutes is plenty, unless of course you're doing the powerlifting workouts where you need longer rest periods in between sets, and so it's going to take you longer to get through your workout. But if that's not the case, 45 minutes, 90 minutes tops is the most that you can actually sustain a high level of intensity. And intensity is the name of the game when it comes to strength training. If you are training for 3 hours or spending 3 hours in the gym lifting weights, you're either, number one, not working out hard enough, or you spend a lot of time scrolling on your phone or doing inefficient activities. So there's one area to look at it from that standpoint. Another thing, as I've touched on in other videos, is that a lot of times People use exercise as a means of burning off excess calories. And you also know, if you watch my videos, I'm a fan of using exercise as a means for improving athletic performance, increasing lean muscle mass, and increasing your mobility, range of motion, things like that. And then your diet is the main thing that helps you to shed body fat. It's just that calories are going to be burned in the process of working out, but you often end up wearing the body out, putting extra wear and tear on the joints, and actually sometimes leading you further away from your aesthetics goals in your pursuit of trying to get leaner in the process. So after all this rambling on this, how much exercise should you be doing for the average person who is not trying to be Muhammad Ali, Arnold Schwarzenegger, or Lance Armstrong, and pursuing this elite level of athleticism? Well, for the average person, after you have, just for general health, if you're a guy and you want to have, 10% body fat, above average strength, above average muscle mass, and decent cardiorespiratory fitness, you want to be exercising in a cardiorespiratory, so zone 2 cardio. And zone 2 is just a fancy way of saying exercising at a pace that you can carry on a conversation at. So depending on your fitness level, that might just be going out for a walk, it might be going at a slow jog, or just tooling around the neighborhood on your bike. You want to do about 3 hours a week total, 2 to 3 hours of this zone 2 kind of cardio. And so when you calculate that out, that's roughly half an hour a day. And depending on how close you are to work, if they had showers too, you could even get that done just riding your bike to work. But in fact, if you're just doing yard work, depending on the kind of yard work, you could even get that in a day of doing some yard work. So beyond that, you want to have 2 to 4, but at least 2 days of structured strength training included in there. And that'll be plenty for the average person to maintain their fitness over time, provided that their nutritional habits are intact as well. Once you get all that, the nutrition taken care of, and you're not trying to outrun a bad diet, then you can maintain that quite easily with that. And in fact, you don't even have to have just 2 hour-long workouts for your strength training. Me personally, oftentimes most days I find that I'm doing weightlifting almost every day of the week, but I'm only doing it about 10, 20 minutes per day in the morning before I go to work. And because I've been doing this for a long time, it's basically just kind of like spinning the wheel. Once you get the merry-go-round going, it needs a lot of effort to get it going. Once you got the momentum going, you only need to push it from time to time, and you can easily maintain your level of fitness. Other thing is too, once you've developed that foundational fitness, you are able to work out at a higher intensity, which is also going to have a longer carryover, so you don't have to do as much volume. I talk about a lot of times in the beginning, when somebody's trying to start out with their strength training routine, you could do 2 days of working out and either split that into one day you're doing pushing exercises and the other day you're doing pulling exercises, or you can maybe do strength training on Monday, strength training on Friday, and do full body workout where you're training all the major muscle groups in that workout, and you're starting off training maybe 1 to 2 sets with a weight that allows you to do 15 to 20 repetitions. So you're not doing a very heavy weight, but this higher level of repetitions and load allows you to become familiar with doing the exercise, and also helps to build that metabolic efficiency as well. In other words, the metabolic efficiency meaning that you're able to deliver the carbohydrates and fats efficiently to the muscles so that you're not fatiguing as quickly. Also, your cardiovascular system, you're able to deliver oxygen to those muscles faster as well. So in the beginning, starting off with that higher volume can be helpful. And then as you go on, you progress to a more intermediate stage, maybe 3 months, 6 months of consistent training. And then you're maybe doing heavier weights, but lower repetitions. Maybe you're in that 8 to 12, 10 to 15 repetition range, and you get to more advanced stages, you're lifting even heavier weights for lower reps, but because of the level of intensity involved in that heavier lifting with the lower repetition range, you don't need to train as often to maintain the level of fitness that you have achieved over that time. So as long as you just keep on pushing that wheel every day, once you get to that cruising altitude, and this actually reminds me of a little bit of a story from this marketing sales guru, Brian Tracy. And he talked about how when you're building your career, oftentimes you need to put in a ton of effort, just like an airplane trying to take off the runway. Let's say the airplane has to go at, and I have no idea how fast an airplane has to go to take off. Let's say you got to do 110 miles an hour to take off. Well, if you hit 105 miles an hour, you're working really hard, but you don't have enough momentum to take off. So oftentimes in the beginning of your fitness journey, you might have to be very strict with your diet. You might have to put in a little extra work in your workout routine to get that lift off and gain that momentum. However, once you achieve it, just like the airplane, it hits that cruising altitude and it can just kind of float on the wind currents. It doesn't need to use quite as much thrust to keep it going. So, doing a little bit of rambling on that. Now I want to transition over towards, let's say if you're a person who does want to focus on building, as much muscle and strength or improving your athletic performance. Well, is there a time and a place for this, 3-hour workouts, or this, improving, working out multiple days a week for the same muscle group? And the answer is yes and no. So even with the elite athlete, there is a limit and a cap to where there's going to be diminishing returns on the amount of training you're doing. So as I stated earlier on in this video, if you're spending 3 hours in the gym, usually the strength training portion is still going to be that 45 minutes, 90 minutes tops where you're lifting the weights. And then the rest of that time, you're going to be working on skill work. Maybe you're working on your flexibility, your stretching, mobility, maybe throwing a little bit of cardio, or you're practicing, or, let's say you're a mixed martial artist and you're practicing different kicks or different takedown maneuvers. Or if you're, let's say you're a football player and you're the quarterback and you're practicing your throwing or practicing different cutting maneuvers, whatever the case may be, but you're not actually working out the whole time because the level of intensity and you just start to get too fatigued to actually make it effective in your training routine. Now, with that being said, if you're somebody who's trying to, let's say you want to be a competitive bodybuilder, so you're focused on building more muscle, there is actually benefit to training the same muscle group multiple days a week, but you have to build up to that level so that your body can actually tolerate it. Now, the maximum amount of times that you'd want to train the same muscle group, so let's say you're training your legs, the maximum amount you'd want to train is about 4 days a week for the same muscle group. And you'd also don't want to be training it at the same intensity. Maybe you have one day where you're really breaking down those muscles, you're doing the heavy training or really high volume, and kind of almost like Arnold Schwarzenegger in Pumping Iron, or the glamorized CrossFit style workouts of the CrossFit Games where they just really look exhausted and they're pushing themselves to the max. Maybe you have one day a week where you're doing that, and then the other days of the week are at varying other intensities, just so you get that extra volume in there, kind of like Pavel Statsalin. He was a Russian kettlebell instructor, and he coined this phrase called greasing the groove. You're basically taking your body, running it out through its paces, but you're not. Every workout doesn't need to be beat your body into the ground. You're just going out there kind of like a horse, out of the racetrack. You run it through, a couple paces. Maybe you have some hard workouts. The rest of the time, you just kind of get the blood pumping, getting that practice in. And as far as which muscle groups, there are certain muscle groups that are going to be able to, tolerate a higher frequency of training. And those are usually the smaller muscle groups. So let's say your calves, your biceps, your triceps, your side deltoids, for example. These have more slow twitch muscle fibers in there, meaning they are, slower to fatigue. They can tolerate a lot more endurance, a lot more training volume. And so with these ones, you can train them at the higher end, maybe 4 days a week, and still you don't want to be training them, every day at the same level of intensity. Allow them to recover. So maybe on Monday, you're doing that all-out workout. Maybe on Wednesday, you're doing a moderate level of, volume and intensity, more of a bodybuilding style. And then on the last day, maybe you're just doing, some endurance type training. And what that's going to look like is depend on your level of fitness. For one person, doing push-ups might be hardcore strength training. For another person, doing the push-ups, depending on their training experience, might just be an endurance exercise like going out for a jog or a run. Now, for bigger muscle groups, let's say for example the ones that you're going to be using in your squat, your bench press, your deadlift, those ones 2 days a week is probably plenty. Is the bigger the muscle is, the longer it's going to take it for it to recover from a workout, and that's all you need to be doing. So that's kind of the gist of what you need for an athlete who's trying to maximize their hypertrophy gains. And the last thing I want to touch on in this video before I close it out is your nutritional considerations. So as a person who is doing that standard for just general health and fitness, right? You're not looking to become a advanced athlete or anything like that, or build extreme muscle and strength, but you want to maintain your health, as long as and so that would be that, that 2 to 3 hours of, light cardio, and then, 2 days a week of strength training. If you're doing that, as long as you're eating a balanced diet with adequate amount of calories for your activities of daily living as well as your workouts, you don't need to be too concerned with the timing of when you're getting in your post-workout meals and what supplements and things you're taking. Your body's going to be able to recover just fine from that. But if you are somebody who let's say you're a high school or college athlete and you're doing a football player, right? And you're doing your 2-a-days. So you're training once in the morning, you're training in the evening, or you're a hybrid athlete who is doing some strength training in the morning, and then he's also going out for his run in the evening, and you need to make sure that your muscles are recovered, particularly your glycogen, your carbohydrates that are stored in the muscles in the liver. You want to make sure that that's recovered so that you can go out there and train again. Well, then you got to be a little bit more particular about how you're fueling your body. So you want to take in maybe intro workout. So let's say you're the endurance athlete, right? If you're going for more than 90 minutes in a workout, you want to start maybe 20 minutes into the workout sipping on, a glucose containing beverage, right? Something that's going to be pretty low in fat, so it doesn't take a long time to digest. Fat and protein aren't good while you're working out because they just take more time to digest. They're harder to digest. So you want probably more simple carbohydrates, something that's going to be easily absorbed. And you're sipping on that beginning at 20 minutes and about every 20 minutes afterwards, so that by the time your body would normally be running out of carbohydrates, you've already got more coming in, and you're factored in that digestion time, which is maybe 20 minutes to half an hour to get that into your muscles again. So there's that. The other thing is a supplement you can take. And my cousins, when I was in high school, they were very into long distance mountain biking, and so what they would take sometimes on their, when they were doing 2-3 hour long mountain bike races, is they'd supplement with glutamine. So glutamine, amino acid that can actually help to slow down muscle protein breakdown while you're doing long endurance races or even long bodybuilding workouts. And it's also good for if you've got, gut health issues. So if you have leaky gut, glutamine along with glycine is actually good for helping to repair any damage to your gut that can cause, the food to leak out through your gut lining and into your bloodstream and cause all sorts of autoimmune issues and things like that. But as far as athletic performance, it's also good for helping you to recover faster and thus be able to train more frequently and improve your response to your exercise. The last supplement would be citrulline. So citrulline is a substance that actually helps your blood vessels dilate. And so you're going to, similar to another amino acid called arginine, which does the same thing. And if you can dilate your blood vessels, it's going to increase blood flow and also nutrients to your working muscles, allowing you to stave off fatigue longer, right? So if you are that endurance athlete, if you are that bodybuilder who's really pushing themselves for long periods of time, you're going to be able to efficiently get those oxygen and nutrients to the working muscles so that you don't fatigue as quickly as you otherwise would. And then the last benefit of citrulline would be increasing your levels of human growth hormone, which is a hormone associated with youth, vitality. It's going to help you to increase lean muscle mass, help you to burn body fat more efficiently. It tends to decrease with age. That's why things like sprint training can be beneficial too for increasing that, but it's going to help you just recover faster in general from your workouts. So that is what I have to say today on the topic of how much exercise should you do, how long should you do it, and how frequently you should do it. If you like the video, hit that like button. If you have any friends who would benefit from this kind of information, share it with them. We'll see you all next weekend.